Welcome to Earthly Vision. My name is Ralph Ivery. I am your host today. Earthly Vision talks to artists and artisans about their views and their experience. Earthly Vision is also recorded at the Griffin Studio in Woodstock, New York by David Saxman. And our day's guest will be Frannie Kaplan. Welcome to the show, and could you tell us a little about yourself?
Yes, I could tell you a lot. I'd like to. Okay, well, you had asked me about inspirations and all, and actually, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a beatnik. All I know is, I was born in '54, and I saw myself as an adult in black tights and leotards and a black beret in my own design studio, and that's what I wanted to be. And that was, to me, the epitome of the beatnik. I was very much, Maynard G. Krebs, all those people were like, that's how I want to be. I want to be allowed to just paint. And I couldn't paint. I was drawing. My oldest sister actually was into painting a little bit, and she got me pastels and charcoals, and she got me into doing. I used to paint all these, draw in charcoals and pastels. Or the dog, the family dog.
Right.
It's always the dogs. But it was great. I was born with some walking difficulties. I didn't walk till I was a few years old, and my mother was a really good sewer and tailor and baker, so she taught me everything she could to keep me occupied, because I couldn't go out and run around. So, and it was great. At 7, I finally nagged her into letting me go on a sewing machine, because everything until that point was, embroidery and that kind of thing, lots of hand sewing. And she did. Once I got into the sewing machine, that was it. I was cutting up all the Indian bedspreads I could find, making Guinevere dresses for myself and all my friends, and that was at about 10. Everything that we could find, I made Guinevere. We were all going back to King Arthur's Court, and this was going on in Yonkers, New York. There was a place that we used to go to all the time called Untermeyer Park, which was a Greek garden behind walls. It still exists, but it's a Greek garden that nobody knew was there.
Also, it was sort of abandoned.
Well, yeah, at that time it was. It was these incredible aqueducts and statuary and everything, and broken tile mosaics of Medusa and things like that. And it does still exist. And we would go there and do our King Arthur of the Court thing, and mostly just smoke pot, I think. But and there was talk of devil worshipping people going on there, but we weren't. That wasn't our thing. Right. We were just young kids, hanging out in a beautiful place. Anyway, so I just really got into creating. The 50s, I still remember in black and white, growing up in the early 50s. To me, everything was black and white, and I was, I came from, this very depressed mother and father. I was depressed, everybody was depressed, and so I wanted color. That was my thing, is to create color in every day, that it wasn't just for special occasions. So that's why, as an adult, when I realized, less and less people threw parties, and even less threw balls. So I was always going to dress up. No matter what I did, I was going to dress up. If you notice, when I do flea markets, I dress up. I just, I like a lot of color in my life, and I think color, everybody has their own colors. When I work in interior design work, the first question I ask my private clients is, what's your favorite colors? What makes you happy? I want you to walk into this room then when I'm finished and say, wow, because that color that you love the most is hitting you and, and making you feel good.
Do you think when you were younger, since you said that the pastels sort of didn't really work for you, it was in your
Well, even the pastels, I remember using, you know, electric blues and blacks a lot, you know, and I always worked with black, with colors popping out of black, you know.
Actually, what I was going to ask you, did you find that by using fabric, that was your source of creation? So
Yeah.
that helped you to deal with all the colors and everything else?
Absolutely. I really became addicted to fabrics. I mean, there was a time where I just had practically a warehouse full. I had a design studio in the garment district called first Wet Dreams and then Dreams of New York. Wet Dreams was actually offered by my mother. I used to do soft sculptures for store displays. I did a huge mermaid that was used, hung from a ceiling in a store in the village. That was, you know, their draw for people. It was a huge soft sculpture, and she begat other, you know, I used to call the erotic soft sculptures. I did, you know, breasts with the hands like this, coming around the pillow and things like that, and they were all on Columbus Avenue windows and that, and Serendipity. I used to sell to Serendipity, and you know, did can girls and Rose and things like that, and so at that point my mother said, make them out of vinyl and call it Wet Dreams, call your company Wet Dreams. And I thought it was funny until all the creeps in New York used to come ring my bell in my studio thinking it was a porn studio or something, so I changed it just to Dreams of New York at that point, and did rock and roll stage wear and theatrical design, and that was fun, except that I had no business sense whatsoever, and I really didn't know how to run a business. I mean, I knew how to design and I knew how to create, but I didn't know how to get those designs out, you know, into the public and into.
Now, did you care more about getting designs out as far as the money aspect? Sometimes
well, I needed the money, but I wasn't
but
thinking along those lines. You have to pay the rent, you have to eat, you know, you have. I was thinking, oh God, you know, I would love to see this one in my clothes or that one in my clothes, and that's, you know, what happened when I saw. I mentioned I have a picture of. I had a friend called who had a band. I went out one night and I saw this band. I don't know if it was Max's, I think at Max's, Kansas City, and it's called Stu Lane and the Untouchables, and it was the first time I ever saw a rap. These were done for clothes that I designed for him. I saw him and I just said, you should be wearing my clothes. And he said, I'm looking for somebody to do my clothes. And he had come from Australia, he was going to School of Visual Arts, and he had this band. And his paintings are now, I understand, world famous. He's a world famous painter from Australia. He lives in Tasmania now. We made contact again a few years ago, and Stuart McFarland. I just, you know, I would meet people and say, no, you know, you have to be wearing my clothes. You have to be wearing. He's one of the few that I think paid. Most people did not. I was doing clothes for Jumping Jack Flash in New York and meeting people there, but he was another one who didn't like paying bills. But you know, Trash and Vaudeville, another one who didn't like paying bills. But anyway, we, you know, I tried to get out there, but I had a lot of competition at the time. There were a lot of other people doing it, and they were getting more of the big names, I think, than I was. But it was very exciting, and it was very, you know, it was a lot of fun. What happened was I had a fire in my studio, and I lost tons of. All my cutting tables were masonite. And plywood, so everything
like
just
melted.
That was it. It was gone, and so, you know, at that point I decided I really needed to do something for money. You know, so, you know, throughout my life and my career, you know, you can't always work for yourself. You can't always do what you want to do. You know, when you want to do it, you have to live. You have to eat. You have to pay your rent. So. You know, I went to work for Canal Jeans. I was running their vintage clothing section. I went to work for different people, and then I kept going back to school. I did the FIT thing for a while in buying and merchandising, so I was working with buyers, and I was assistant buyer. And I kept trying to balance, and as I would get into these middle management positions with companies in Manhattan, I kept saying, no, I don't want to be, the corporate structure is not doing it for me. And I never really fit in anyway, but the corporate structure just was not doing it for me. It wasn't like they were going to, make me the head of Macy's on 34th Street. That wasn't happening. So, I kept going, and I really always just wanted to paint. I wanted to really know how to paint like a pre-Raphaelite. That was my thing, and still is.
Now, when you were younger, you said you came to Woodstock when you were about 11 or something?
No, I was 15.
15?
Let's see, do you have that picture? I was 15, and I came to Woodstock with my friend Marcy, and I met, I just met all these people. We came up the summer of '69 in preparation to go off to Bethel for the concert, and we came up and spent a couple of weeks, and I was telling Ralph that, I came up on the bus from Port Authority and to see if there was a place we could stay. And this cute young guy came on the bus and fell asleep on my shoulder. And after this, at the end of the summer, he started the New York Dolls. It was Sylvain. His name was Sylvain Mizrahi. And he started the New York Dolls. In fact, I stayed with he and his friend at the time, Billy Mercier, who was the original drummer for the New York Dolls. They had a place in the Village Green. They made sweaters. They had a textile business, which I believe is what he went into in later life. They did these sweaters that were, one color, the top and the top of the sleeves, and another color the bottom, these rib sweaters. And so they were involved in that business, and besides playing music. And then, I kept just making all these friends. I mean, it was very Woodstock generation, it was just like they said in the books, Then, I met Jimi Hendrix, lived up the hill, and I met him right by Joshua. Joshua's is now, and he invited me to his house, but I was 15 and he was 26. And I realized I was in way over my head, so I passed. But it was a lot of magical feeling. My friend, meanwhile, while I was meeting Jimi Hendrix, she was trying to get back from like Bearsville, and everybody hitched in those days. You could still do that without fearing too much for your life. And she got picked up by the band in a pickup truck, and it was just, all this magic, all this fun and magic, and we were pretty innocent, I mean, it was...
Do you ever hear from any of those people?
Which people? Do you mean the people...
Yeah, that you sort of grew up with and...
Oh, yeah.
You're telling me.
Yeah, I did. I hooked up with, when we hitched and got the VW bus to take us to the festival, we ran into, people that we went to high school with, who were working already for Michael Lang, building the stage, I again hooked up with these people. My friend Howie, who was one of the people we saw immediately as soon as we went to the grounds. He's a band producer here in the area, and he's been living up in New Paltz for about 20-something years, 20-plus years.
No, Michael Lang, he's the one who helped produce Woodstock?
Michael Lang is, he's the main one who produced it, And he did the movie, but he produced the whole festival, pulled it all together. And I'm surprised you don't know him. He's always around. I don't know him. Personally, I had such a crush on him. You have no idea. And every time I see him, every weekend I want to say, I've had such a crush on you since I was 15. I feel like such a jerk, But anyway, I mean, I want him to sign the, I never saw the movie. I never saw the movie of Woodstock, but it was really a trip. I mean, that's a whole other show, the festival at 15, being there. And running around in my red velvet cape and my hood, and
How did you run away from home to go?
No, that's the funny thing. My mother No, actually, it's not really that funny because my friend's parents weren't going to let her come with me, my friend Marcy. She lives in Beverly Hills now. She has a movie company, a little movie company, but a little movie library company. And she was, there was no way. And my parents were, I don't know, they were older, my father was sick from the time I was 11, and my mother was really tied up with him and taking care of him. And so I just kind of said, look, I'm going to Woodstock for a few weeks, and that was it. But my friend's brother became really ill, and the family was tied up with that, and she needed to get away from that whole situation. And so yeah, we came, and like I said, and everybody from Yonkers, from Lincoln High School in Yonkers was there, and it is so strange considering the amount of people that were at the festival.
Right.
Running into like the people in your neighborhood, like every step of the way. But anyway, so yeah, as I was saying, back in Manhattan, everybody I worked with, I kept thinking, I don't want to do this. Why should I work this hard for them when I can be doing my own stuff? So finally, at 24, I went running around. Reagan was in office, and they had stopped venture capital offers, to start businesses and all. And my sister, one of my sisters, was kind enough to give me some money to start this design studio. I got a place on 38th Street, 9th Avenue, and they were the old sweatshops. And mine had already started to be redesigned, and people were living in one part of it, so I only had like 3,500 of the 5,000 square feet, and it was just all windows, and it was freezing in the winter and burning in the summer, and it was great, I had a 30-foot stone terrace out the front, those old buildings in the garment district, and it was really great. I had it going for like 5 years, and like I said, I had a fire, and that kind of was the turning point of, I really couldn't afford to restock and everything else, but
so what started you like to do the interior and stuff
well,
like that?
I was taking that. I took it really hard at that time, in those years, the fact that my punk Peter Pan designs, which I don't know if I can hold up any of the early pictures, that my punk Peter Pan designs were not going over well with the regular fashionistas on 7th Avenue, and also I couldn't get it together to do things seasonally. Mine was, I'm doing it, and that's it. It doesn't matter what season it was, and that didn't fit into the people.
Is that an article by you there?
There's actually Pat Travers bought one of my shirts, and there was I found this article with him wearing my shirt, so
This is your shirt?
Yes, and so I kept it for many years. Yeah, this was the original design for it, and the original drawing of it, and then
The Circus, the name of his band?
Circus Magazine. Yeah, that's what it was in.
That's what it was.
Look, July 1981. But anyway, and I was doing,
Tell us about these. These are nice.
These were from my first. I had these pictures taken from my first holiday business card. And I said, things like, help, I'm stuck in a bordello in the middle of Manhattan, and, but they were done, by, again, a small, at the time, small photography couple that did this. My big thrill at that time was that I was called in to redesign the costumes for Mum and Chance on Broadway. And I was at it was in the Morosco Theater, which no longer exists, unfortunately. They tore it down, and they were, the original creator of Mum and Chance had created the costumes also, because it's, you know, really a gym group in essence. You know, it's a, you know, very flexible people, and people who went to clown school, people who went, you know, professional gymnasts who did the show. And they were in clams that they were like passing out, you know, because they had no breathing room. She designed all the costumes from the outside, from the appearance.
Okay.
But putting somebody inside, they couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
So, you know, like the cubes that would go upside down and all. Well, you know, he had to breathe somehow, you know. So I went in, and they couldn't come to my studio for fittings and all that because they were either rehearsing or doing shows. So I had to go there and work with them in between performances as they were coming off. So they put me in this little room with a hot glue, not hot glue, it should have been hot glue, with rubber cement and an electric knife and lots of foam. And I was there in this little teeny room in this theater that was built probably in 1910, in this attic room, and I was just feeling wonderful. And then I started inhaling all this rubber cement, and they found me hysterical laughing, rolling on the floor, and they kind of, I remember somebody picking up my legs and somebody picking up my arms with me laughing hysterically as they carried me through the hall, trying to keep me quiet while the performance was going on and get some fresh air so that I could continue to make breathing holes in their costumes and re-stitch them. But it was fun. And that was great. But I just wanted to take the, I always admired like opera sets and not just the costumes. Costume-wise, my absolute favorite designer was Leon Basque of the Ballet Russe. He used to paint the costumes on a lot of their bodies. He would paint their legs. Instead, they didn't have textile machines that could do harlequin tights.
Right.
You know, I would think about this, like, wait a minute, how did they get harlequin tights on this guy, you know? Well, he would paint them on their bodies. A lot of the early people in the Ballet Russe were pretty much naked except for like jock straps and things. And his designs are just incredible, and I studied him privately a lot. And he also then went to the sets. He hand painted and created all the sets, so that really influenced me a lot. And I said, you know, I want to live like this. I want to live in a Ballet Russe set. I want to live this way. And again, it went back to my not being able to, but always wanting to paint. So then I went back to other schools. I found different artists. There were very few artists who were teaching, even today, and who really know how to teach trompe-l'oeil, you know, tricks the eye, trompe-l'oeil murals, really, you know, other than, you know, a grass and somebody, you know, in a bush, in a tree, you know, out of the Bob Ross genre and into the fantasy genre. And that's what I wanted to do. And so I did. Luckily, I found various artists. Amalia Hoffman out of Pratt Institute was teaching in Westchester. And I spent a year with her, taking every course she would give and working with her, picking up pieces of garbage, you know, tables from garbage and things, and just making them into marble and making them into, you know, really fabulous things.
I think you have some pictures of those.
I have some, yes, I do. And actually, a couple of pieces were just destroyed in Hurricane Irene in my basement. A lot of things went floating. But, you know what, I still have a house to go to, so I consider myself very blessed. These were actually, I don't know if we can scan these or what. These are pieces of furniture. This, I was hired by a graphic artist to do, she had a buffet, a huge buffet built, Buffet and Hutch built. And she wanted specific things painted on them, and I worked with her through her designs. She was a graphic artist, as I said, and she wanted native designs, and I, you know, did them on her designs on the furniture. This was furniture I actually grew up with in the 50s, which happened to be mahogany painted gray. And I stripped it and I did some faux marble inlay on all the top surfaces. These pieces I do still have. And
Those are nice.
yeah, but I also, I became, and everything was environment now. It was taking it off the body, and I didn't have to have it accepted by, this individual, or make me look like Jerry Hall, which was in the 80s, or make me look like this, and make me look like that. It was, what? How do you want your environment to be? What do you want your environment to be? And that's my thing, and continues to be probably throughout life, is how do you want your environment? What do you want your environment to be? Unfortunately, the last 4 years since I've been living in the area, I haven't had work because people are trying to hold on to the roofs over their heads,
Right.
and I understand that. But what I'm trying to do now is I'm working on a project with whatever agency I can find, ultimately to get a government grant to do it. And I've checked into this already, and I've been accepted into the program, and now I'm just trying to really get as involved as possible. It's a local program, and I want to open a resource and environment hopefully in Woodstock. I'm trying to open something where all the tradespeople in Woodstock can hook up with all the homeowners in Woodstock. All the local people can come together. For example, I bought a washing machine and it broke down. And the store I bought it from said, "Oh, we're having trouble finding somebody." Well, I know a lot of plumbers who could use the work. I know a lot of people in the area who, I have a big old house, I'm practically intimately involved with my plumber, you know what I mean? And he'll call me periodically and say, "I don't know, I have no work, do you have anything?" And I'm like, "Probably, but I can't afford you now," but to try to hook up, and I've already spoken to him about this, but to try to hook up, I know so many people who aren't just painting on canvas, who are doing things that can apply to people's lives and their homes, or that they really need electrical work or plumbing work
Sort
or
of like a barter
paint work.
system?
Well, not as a barter system though, and not as a not-for-profit either, but where as a resource center for everything. Currently, I'm taking care of my mother who's got Alzheimer's. You have no idea how hard it is to find somebody to babysit for an adult with Alzheimer's. The people that I thought would do it would come, would say, "Yes, I need the work, I'm out of work." Said, "You know what, I'm afraid with somebody with Alzheimer's." Other people, I did get 1 or 2 people who have said to me, "No, I have experience with this, but it's taken months just to make any kind of contact. Hey, you need a babysitter? You want to go out for the night? Hey, here's so-and-so's card." Or so-and-so has 2 kids in high school or junior, first year of college. They're looking for a regular gig, and try to hook everybody up so that the people in the area, but it's guaranteed also. So that, you don't show up for a job, you don't get recommended for a job again. You don't, you try to gouge somebody. If somebody's, you have to discuss what you're going to charge for what job, what your fee schedule is. There would have to be a group of people saying, "You know what, that's fair, that's unfair." I don't want to be sending out people who are gouging people. I don't want to be sending out people who are, ripping people off to get the money. Or, I live in a really big house, and one side of my house in Kingston, one side of my house my driveway touches a deli. You know that half the people coming out of that deli eating whatever throw their garbage all over my lawn and all that. Not even a lawn. I don't even have a lawn. Actually, I have a little front lawn, and I have a little grass along the side, and I have a little backyard. I have 4 dogs enclosed in, behind fencing. And, everybody, and I realize I'm around the corner, I'm 2 blocks from a soup kitchen. I'm the rich one because I have this big house, and you know, and it's weird because on the one hand I try to always like give things to people. On the other hand, they've killed and or stolen 3 trees now from me.
Right.
You know, so you know you try to you know, I try to balance with the people I live with and try to balance the, you know, the environment. My plumber lives near me. My you know, he's trying to hook me up with an electrician, blah, 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 you know. I think everybody in the area, or no matter where you live, but I think in Woodstock in particular, because it's gone through such a shift of people who live here all the time, people who are only here on the weekends, people who are only here in the summer. And I know even what happened with the Playhouse and how the Playhouse had to close because people didn't like the noise at night. Why they moved to Woodstock, I don't know, you know, but
I'm sorry to cut you up, but we're sort of running out of time. Yeah. I want to take time to welcome the people to the show again. I want to thank David Saxman for producing the show, at Dwight Griffin and so forth. Also would like to thank you for coming and maybe come back again.
thank you.
And I'll say goodbye.